Before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody's feeling good. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about a situation that happened quite a while ago, but has resurfaced this year of 2024. The conversation has. And when I tell y'all, I was so far down the rabbit hole with this one. I'm talking about I was deep off in it. We're going to talk about it today. Before we get into it, though, I did want to let you guys know, if you don't already know, hi, my name is Christina. I do have a second channel, which is Casually Christina. We just do things more casually over there. I also have a Patreon. My Patreon's for 18 and up. And over there, we talk about more personal stuff. We go live over there. I also have a $2 tier for all the true crime stuff that cannot go onto YouTube due to their terms and policies. That goes over on my Patreon under the $2 tier. Just make sure you read the full about section and what each tier offers before you join. I'm also on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and I'm also on Like to Know It. And Like to Know It is a platform where you can find links to a lot of the stuff that you guys see that I like, different stuff like that, makeup, hair, clothing items, stuff for my kids, bicycle, all kinds of random stuff. I put those links over on my Like to Know It. And all of those platforms are linked down in the description box if you would like to come and check me out. So we're going to be talking about a woman named Mary today. And when I first seen the first interview that I seen of Mary, and then went down the rabbit hole, watched the old reenactments, I would say documentaries, but they weren't necessarily documentaries. They were more like movies based on the true story. It was uncomfy and weird. And then when I looked into the family background, oh my goodness. So I'm going to do like I typically do. I'm going to tell you guys the story to the best of my ability with the public information that is already out there. I'm not a professional. Please go do your own research, form your own opinions. Just do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So let's just start at the beginning. Mary Schmitz was born on January 30th of 1962 in Tustin, California, to her parents, Mary and John. Mary's mother, was a chemist, and John was a community college professor and a politician. Mary was known to her family as Mary Kay. She was the third of 7 children, and she was the first daughter. Mary was raised in a strict Catholic household. When Mary was just 2 years old, her father started his political career by successfully running as a Republican for a seat in the state legislature. He would go on to hold positions as a California state senator and a U.S. congressman. He even ended up running for president in 1972, but he did not make it. Now, it is said that Mary Kay was the apple of her father's eye, honey. Even though he already had boys before, a lot of people said that once he had his first daughter, which was Mary Kay, it's like he just changed. And mind you, little Mary Kay looked up to her father. As a matter of fact, when he was running for president, she was just so excited, stars in her eyes, like you would think most little ones would be if their dad's running for president. But they had that type of relationship. Now, it may sound like their family had the ideal American family, but things went sour very quickly. In 1973, Mary's 3-year-old brother, Philip, ended up drowning in the family pool at their home in California. Mary was playing in the pool with a different brother when it happened. No one was ever formally held responsible for what happened, but according to Mary, her mother blamed her and was cold towards her afterwards from then on out. As a matter of fact, it was rumored that Mary Kay's mother, Mary, the chemist, was a cold woman. She was not very hands-on with the children, allegedly, and that she definitely felt like girls were supposed to act a certain way, and Mary didn't act that way, and so therefore she was very standoffish to her. Then in 1982, Mary's father was running for the U.S. Senate, but his political career came to a screeching halt when it came out that he had an affair and had 2 children from that affair. The woman was a former student of his, okay? And this only came out because one day, a decade into the affair, Mary's father had to take one of the sons from the affair to the hospital for an injury. The injury was allegedly so bad that they started to investigate it at the hospital. And when they did, there was a woman that ended up being charged with the injury to the little one that went to the hospital. And because of this, the mother had to name who the father was. Now, supposedly, Mary's father never actually helped raise them or paid any child support the whole time. This led to very big problems in the family, as you can imagine. Like, hello, we got 7 kids together and you got 2 in a whole other life? Yeah. Mary, at this time, Mary Kay, was absolutely devastated when she found out about her father's affair. Mary loved her father. And again, she basically just idolized him. She loved spending all the time that she could with him. She loved helping him with his campaign efforts. And according to Mary's childhood best friend, she noticed a very obvious change in Mary after the story about her father came out into the public. She says that Mary did a complete 180 and just fell apart. Now, Mary's parents did end up separating, but they did reconcile and they got back together later. Mary would go on to graduate from an all-girls Catholic high school where she was a cheerleader at. And then she went on to attend Arizona State University. While Mary was at Arizona State University, this is where Mary met a man named Steve Letourneau. Now, while they were dating, Mary ended up becoming pregnant by him. One day, while Mary was in class, she had to be rushed to the ER for pregnancy complications, and it turned out that Mary had been pregnant with twins, but one of the babies hadn't survived. The other baby was healthy, though, and Mary ended up going on to give birth to him. This would be Mary and Steve's first of 4 children. Mary would later say that she didn't actually love Steve, but she decided to marry him because her parents, they basically told her to, and allegedly it was the same for Steve as well. He too was pressured by his family to marry Mary. So they ended up getting married in 1985. Now both Steve and Mary ended up dropping out of college, and they moved to Anchorage, Alaska, where Steve worked as a baggage handler for Alaskan Airlines. After a year, Steve was transferred to Seattle, Washington, and this is when Mary gave birth to their second child. This is also when Mary decided that she wanted to have a career in education. So she enrolled at Seattle University and she got her teaching degree in 1989. I heard an interview with Mary where she said that she went into teaching because she loved art, by the way. She loved doing art. However, she considered herself to be an A in teaching, but she was a B in art. So she decided to be a teacher because that's what she was an A in. She started her teaching career as a 2nd grade teacher at Shorewood Elementary School. This is the time Mary and Steve's marriage was really rocky. They were having a lot of problems, and some would even say that it was starting to just fall apart. They had a lot of financial troubles, and both of them had already had multiple affairs behind each other's back, and a friend would later say that during their marriage, Mary was, we'll just say, not treated very nicely, emotionally, and physically by her husband, Steve, as well. Now, again, this is allegedly and according to one of her friends, but this friend also says that Mary did end up in the hospital twice because of her husband, Steve. However, no charges were ever filed, so there's no real paper trail to verify this. Then, in 1999, Mary and Steve finally got a divorce, but they got a divorce while Mary was in prison, okay? So how did Mary go from being the politician's daughter with the stars in her eyes looking at her daddy to going on to college, to meeting this guy and marrying him and having children, to then being in prison? Let's talk about it. While Mary was teaching 2nd grade, Mary got to know an 8-year-old student named Vili Fualaau. Now, Mary took a special liking to Vili, and she believed that he was special. As a matter of fact, I heard a couple interviews where she said that he was an artist, that She could tell like the way he would do drawings. And remember, she loved art as well, that he was very talented. A few years later, 34-year-old Mary was teaching 12-year-old Vili's 6th grade class when the two of them ended up getting even closer. So again, she taught him when he was younger, and then she teaches him in middle school. Mary would say that the two of them had a very compatible sense of humor, and that there were a million moments between them that just kept building something very beautiful, but also very scary at the same time. Which, just to throw this in here, a compatible sense of humor with you're 34 years old. Seems weird, right? But for Vili, he said that he had a crush on a 6th grade teacher, Mary, which middle school age, I mean, it's not uncommon, right? He said that he started to have this little crush on a 6th grade teacher, but it was just a game at first. However, then it grew into something serious. Mary said she really liked encouraging Vili's artistic talents, and so the two of them took an art class at a local community college. Now, mind you, this whole time, Mary's got 4 kids at the house herself, and this meant that Mary is now spending all of her time with her student outside of school. Mary was even inviting Vili over to her home during the summer break of 1996 to nurture his artistic abilities. This ended up creating issues between her and Steve, as you guys can imagine, because he wanted Mary to give all of her attention to their children that they had. But Mary just could not keep her attention off of Vili. On June 18th of 1996, the police found Mary with Vili in a car parked at a marina. They pulled up. They see this vehicle that's at nighttime, parked by itself in this marina, and they pull up and they're looking and they see somebody jumping into the front seat from the back seat. So the police go up and they knock on the window. When they did, Mary opens the door and gets out, and she has on like a long white t-shirt. Now the cops said that they couldn't tell what was underneath it because it was a long white t-shirt. They couldn't tell if she had on little shorts or she didn't, but they start shining their flashlight and looking in the back of the car, and this is when they see Vili sleeping in the back seat. Mary ended up giving the officers a fake name for her as well as Vili, and she told the officers that he was 18 years old. Now, it was obvious to the officers that he wasn't 18 and that something very strange had been going on. So when the officers asked what was going on, Mary said no touching or anything like that had taken place, but that her and her husband had gotten into an argument, and Vili, who she claimed was a family friend, had been staying with them that night, and he'd witnessed the argument and he ran away upset. Mary said that she had found him there and they were just talking. Mary and Vili were taken to the police station where Vili's mother was called. When she showed up, she told the officers that Mary was a well-known and well-liked teacher of Vili's and that she had no problems with the two of them being together in public. So she told the police to drop the matter and just let everyone go home. Vili's mother would later say that if the police had actually told her that Mary lied about Vili's age and about like how they were found in the car, she definitely wouldn't have let her son go back to hanging out with his teacher. Then, one night just before Vili's 13th birthday, things changed for everybody forever. According to Mary, there was a late night incident that didn't stop with just a kiss. At 34 years old, Mary was having, we'll say, inappropriate relations with a 12-year-old Vili. To make matters worse, by the end of that summer, Mary had actually become pregnant with Vili's child. But what had been going on between Mary and Vili had been their little secret until this. In February of 1997, Mary's husband figured out what was going on. He found like all these love letters that Mary had written to Vili, okay? And can you imagine as a husband, like, I don't care what their relationship dynamic was. I mean, they probably needed to work that out, right? But not letters from Vili to his teacher that he would have a crush on, but letters from her to the student. Okay, Steve told a relative what he had found, that he'd found all these letters, and this relative promptly told the elementary school what was going on, and then they called the police. When the police got involved, Mary was arrested for statutory rape, and this happened on March 4th of 1997. News of this spread like wildfire, okay? Mary's arrest, everyone had an opinion about this case, but most could agree that there was no way that Vili was capable of consenting and that Mary had definitely violated him. Now, I need you guys to know, first of all, that Mary was considered the teacher of all teachers, okay? Anybody was going to trust their students with Mary. Seriously. Like, everybody said I saw interviews where there were people saying that they were going to the schools and requesting that they get Mary as their kid's teacher. I mean, there was a waiting list. So when the news broke that it was her with anybody, people were just flipping. And of course, they was all talking. But in the meantime of all this, Mary actually ended up giving birth to her and Vili's daughter. And this was on May 29th of 1997. 3 months later, Mary went through the whole court process, and her neighbor ended up being her attorney. Okay, I saw an interview with her attorney who said that when the news broke that there was a teacher that was arrested for having an inappropriate relationship with a student, that people were going, who is it, who is it, who is it? And then when the neighbor's, I guess, friend or wife came to him and said, it's Mary, he was like, no way. And so he went to speak to her, and he ended up being her attorney. Well, he ended up coming to her and being like, okay, I mean, she was pregnant at this point. You definitely can't deny it now. He got her a plea deal. So Mary ended up pleading guilty to 2 counts of second-degree child. And the state wanted to sentence Mary to 6.5 years in prison. But through this plea agreement, Mary's sentence was reduced to 6 months in the county jail and 3 years of S offender treatment. Now, as part of this plea deal or this plea agreement, Mary was required to register as a S offender, and she was ordered to not have any contact at all with Vili or any other minors. And mind you, at this point, Vili's mom has got the baby, and he's like just turned 13. I mean, he's a 7th grader. This brings us to February 3rd, 1998, just 2 weeks after completing her jail sentence. So she did that few months in jail that she had to do in order to be released, okay? Mary was found by the police in a car with guess who? Yes, Vili, near her home. The officers ended up finding $6,200 in cash, all kinds of baby clothes, and Mary's passport in the car as well. They suspected that the two were going to run away together. Mary was immediately arrested for violating her parole in this no contact order that was put into place. And not only had Mary broke the terms of her parole by meeting up with Vili, but she also wasn't going to her required treatment program either for the S offenders. Mary's judge called these violations extraordinarily egregious and profoundly disturbing, which they were that the first time. I don't understand the plea agreement at all, but okay. Okay, back in the 90s. But anyways, then the judge ordered her to fulfill her max prison sentence of 7.5 years. This is around the time that Steve went ahead and filed for divorce from Mary. He was awarded full custody of their 4 children, understandably. But at this time, Mary's going into the jail, getting ready to serve the rest of her sentence, her 6.5 years, and they find out that guess what? She's pregnant again with her 2nd child, with Vili. She ended up going on to give birth to the 2nd in prison on October 16th of 1998. Now, Vili's mother was given full custody of both of their children together. And while in prison, Mary tried to stay in contact with Vili, even though she still was not supposed to, okay? Vili's mom tried suing the school district and the police for failing to stop the relationship, but a judge ruled against them, which I think is crazy. She should have won that lawsuit, but she didn't. She's got a middle schooler, okay, who's obviously out doing what he wants to do because he's up here, whatever, being a rebellious middle schooler, which is normal when you don't have an adult that does what she did. But now she's raising two little ones. She got two little girls at home now too that she's raising. And she got to support all them. And they should have let her get that lawsuit. Anyways, while Mary was in prison, Vili was absolutely suffering, okay? He ended up dropping out of high school. He was struggling with like depression, and he started drinking a lot. It is even said that he attempted to end it all in March of 1999, but by the grace of God, he did survive. And I watched so many interviews with Vili, and you know, my heart still to this day, and I'll tell y'all more at the end, my heart breaks for him because he was so confused. He was so confused. You can just imagine too, in middle school. Now you got two children. You're in middle school at home. Your mom's taking care of them. You're getting these letters from this woman that's, I love you so much. And oh my gosh, Vili, when I get out, da, 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 da. And he's so confused. Ultimately, Mary served her full 7.5 years, and as her release date was approaching, Vili was asked by the media if he planned on getting back together with Mary, and he said that he didn't know what his feelings were right at that time, and that he was kind of nervous, but that he did love her. Now, when Mary was released in August of 2004, she did go on to register as a lifetime level 2 offender, and her and Vili were still not supposed to have any contact with each other. However, they both petitioned the court because at this point now Vili's an adult and they have children together, and because he petitioned the court and all of that stuff, the no contact order was lifted. Just a few months later, Mary and Vili were engaged. They got engaged in May of 2005. 43-year-old Mary and 21-year-old Vili got married. And this is not typically an ending that you ever see, okay? Ever. Entertainment Tonight was given exclusive access to the wedding. Now remember, Mary and Vili's relationship was making national headlines, and pictures were released through them. Mary told the media that she planned on having another child with Vili and that she wanted to return to teaching. By law, she was allowed to teach at private schools and community colleges, which is a little bit crazy, but that's the way it was. Vili ended up going on to work at a home improvement store, and he did go on to become a DJ. And then Mary ended up working as a legal assistant. Over the next 10 years, Mary and Vili gave several interviews. Check this out.
It would have been quite something to get married after all the years and everything you'd gone through.
It was a huge relief to actually get married and, you know, just going through all those years. And then
Feel sad?
I feel sad for a lot of parts of my life. When I start thinking about those things, you know, I think about all the beauty that's come from it, you know, and where can I take that and run with it?
Because of your relationship, you are a registered offender. Even as I say that, I'm shocked myself. Does this affect your life now in any way?
It's not part of our daily life where we think about it. Although, recently I said, oh, it's been 10 years, why don't I lift that? There's a process. There's a form, you take it to the court, and then they grant it if it looks like it should be granted.
Are you going to do that?
Yes.
Their marriage did come to an end, though, in 2017 when Mary and Vili separated and ultimately got a divorce in 2019. Now, friends say nothing bad happened like between them and that their love had just faded. They stayed in contact, though, because of their daughters and because they were still very friendly with each other. I mean, they had been through a lot. And Vili, he had been through so much. Not long after the divorce, though, Mary became very sick with colon cancer, and Vili had moved to California after the divorce, but he came back to Seattle so he could take care of her 24/7, and he took care of her for 2 months before she passed away, then at the age of 58 on July 6th of 2020, which, in all honesty, what a guy. I mean, this guy... I'm trying to wait to the end to give my opinions, but And he went back and took care of her too, even after all of that.
I got a phone call. Actually, it was a text. She texted and told me that she was feeling a bit sick and that she wasn't sure what it was. And she told me some of her symptoms. And, you know, we made some guesses of what it was, and maybe she should see what her doctor says. And and then she finally got a colonoscopy, and they found that she had cancer and that it had already spread to her liver at the time. So I got on the plane, you know, right away, and I went out there. And well, when I got back, she still looked pretty normal, you know, her health. She still looked pretty healthy on the outside, but you know, within the 6 months, you know, her health declined, you know, rapidly within, you know, in such a short period of time. It was really just unreal to see her that way.
Mary and Vili both have always said publicly that they never regretted how their love came about, but more recently, Vili has also said that he does not support younger kids being married or having a relationship with someone older, even though he says that he was not a victim and he wasn't ashamed of his relationship.
Came to you and said, I'm sleeping with my teacher. What would you say?
What?
What? Yeah, okay.
I think it would be the same reaction that any parent would have, you know, if their child came up and said, you know, I'm in love with my teacher.
What about if they said they were sleeping with anyone?
I don't know really how to deal with it.
However, according to People magazine, an unnamed source close to Vili said that Vili sees things clearly now and he realizes that this wasn't a healthy relationship from the start. Some say that not only did Mary follow in her father's footsteps, but in a way much worse than her father. Now, I have seen Vili still out there. I don't know where the first 4 children are. I don't know if I seen an interview with the ex-husband that was taken years ago. And at that time in that interview, he said that she didn't have any contact with her other 4 children. But I know that on her dying bed, at least a couple of her first 4 were there, if not 1. But I don't know if they ever reconciled anything. I'm not sure. The other 2 children that they had with Vili, they have been so accepting. And so, I mean, what are they supposed to do? That's their mom. That's their dad. However, as they grow older and they have their own offspring, things start to change. And I think that's what happened with Vili, actually. I could tell you stories of my own experience, but I know exactly what that feels like. When you're young and you feel like you know something. Oh, it's fine, right? And then when you have your own children, and then you see the world differently, you're like, wait a minute, am I at 12 years old? You don't know nothing. You don't know nothing about life. Like, what are you doing being a parent? And I believe, in my unprofessional opinion, that Vili, as he got older, watched his kids turn his age that he was, seen other boys probably that were their age and started to see it. The thought started to creep in. Holy crap. This was weird. I saw part of an interview, I'm going to put it in right here, where she was basically telling him that he was the one in control, almost making herself out to be the victim, like he was controlling the relationship when he was 12. And she was the one being told, just look at this.
You were a teacher, Mary. You can't say I was immature.
But you don't know him.
No, but I don't need to know him in this discussion. He's the child. I'm talking about you.
Who was the boss?
What was his name?
Who was the boss?
What?
Who was the boss back then?
You know, there was me pursuing you.
Who was the boss back then?
This is ridiculous.
No,
This is ridiculous.
Who was? Just say.
Just say.
Who was the boss?
All I knew was what I knew back then.
But who was the boss?
He was 13, Mary.
But who was the boss?
This is getting weird.
Who was the boss? Who?
I'm pursuing the relationship.
Who was the boss?
Well, I was the pursuer.
Yes.
And I'm not even going to get into the fact that allegedly she had him at the house and she was trying to get his grades up. And so she was playing like strip whatever. When he got an answer right on a test, she would take whatever. Not even any of that. You're not going to tell me that as they're both adults, she's going to try to make him think that he was the one in control. What? I don't know about y'all, but I ain't no 12-year-old telling me what to do. You're not going to tell me to get in the car and go to Chuck E. Cheese if I don't want to, baby. No, go to your room. Take out the trash. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, and it just makes you think what she was saying to him. Now, when they were young, when he was younger, what is my opinions? I think you guys know what my opinions are. Sick. She was diagnosed by a psychiatrist at her court hearing where they said that she was like manic bipolar.
I mean, this is a very complicated case, psychiatrically, as well as just in terms of the number of events involved in it. I concluded that she was suffering from severe bipolar disorder, meaning both mania and depression.
However, I think there was a lot more going on with her. I watched so many interviews with her, and I think that there was even more going on than just that. I thought about this story in all aspects of it, trying to understand in some way, because their relationship did last as long as it did. I believe that it lasted as long as it did because I believe of Vili. I think that he felt probably as a kid so guilty watching her go to jail, and he was so young and feeling like it was his fault, and he probably internalized it. He's probably an empath that has a big heart, and he probably felt guilty, and he probably did love her to a degree, but he didn't understand that it wasn't right. I remember being in middle school, and there's a bunch of different situations like this, but I know of one specifically where we had a math teacher, okay? Now, this was one of the rough middle schools that I went to. If you guys have ever seen Dangerous Minds, you know how the classrooms were. Envision that for middle school minus all of the like violence and stuff that they had. Like we're all, the bells ringing. Nobody ever gets wrote up for being late because if so, the teachers would spend all their times writing up every single kid for being late. Nothing would get done and the parents or whoever don't care anyway. So a rough middle school like that, right? And we had a math teacher who us little middle school girls, we thought was fine, honey. It was like, oh, Mr. He is so fine. He's so fine. And we would come in and we would try to talk to him. You got a pencil? Mr. So-and-so, can you sharpen my pencil? And we would all be in the back asking for his number. You know what I'm saying? Like middle school stuff, thinking he was so cute, right? If he would have said in his mind, I've got a special connection with this Christina, we'll just say me. She understands me. We have similar humor. That could have changed the whole course of my life or one of the other students' lives, but he didn't. He remained professional. If he needed to sharpen a pencil, he sharpened it and handed it to us like this. He wasn't taking us and doing art classes on the weekend with one of us. You know what I'm saying? Because he stayed as a professional and we were middle school girls. Oh, he's so cute. It was nothing. The difference between that and what happened with Vili is Mary turned and said, oh, he gets me. He's 12. It's normal for little boys to think one of their teachers are cute at some points. It's weird. And because of that, the whole course of his life was changed. And I believe, in my personal opinion, he doesn't want to say a lot about it too because he has 2 daughters that he loves very much and he's very involved in their lives. I've been all digging through it. And if you guys watch this, please do not, if you see their family, do not reach out to them. Don't comment, don't anything. But he's still very much involved in his daughter's lives. It's got to be a tough place for him to be in, especially at his age. And it's not fair. He should have been able to just be a 6th grade boy with his boys. Ooh, Miss Mary, she's pretty. Ho, ho, ho. And that should have been it. Then he should have went on with the rest of his life. But then again, then his daughters wouldn't be here. And so I'm sure he thinks about it like that. So a mess. One of the biggest fails of the justice system was the fact that they were giving her 3 months. Weird. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comments section down below. Other than that, I love you guys. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.